Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and by George, we're going to get right down to it. There are all sorts of activities running around the country, for that matter, and then naturally we've got something focusing. We're focusing within here the state of Oregon, in Oregon, and right up front with it, there's an organization here in the state that represents basically here in the Portland metropolitan area, which is the living room of the state, if you will, and it is the largest city in the state of Oregon, and so this organization really talks to, in many ways, kind of a DEA piece. It kind of mix it up with it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And people are trying to figure out what should they do, if you will, to counter that which is already on the table from a national perspective. And it just so happened we have one of the largest respectful organizations here in this country that we have a chapter here, and that's the NAACP. And we're fortunate to have the president of the NAACP, Mr. James Posey, former military, still is military as far as I'm concerned. He's former military, but he's a family man and the like and whatever. And so we're going to take 30 minutes of his time now to basically share with you some of the things that he's concerned with, et cetera, and what the membership is concerned with, and how we're reacting, if you will, to the issues, preparing, if you will, some of the things that are being happened from a national standpoint, as far as cuts and this and all that kind of weird things and the LT activities. Well, we can't do all this stuff, but the fact of the matter is, he's here. He's focused. He's focused on what he feels the issues are and what the future should be and what he should be working on. Okay, and to respond, if you will, to the community at large, both in a diverse way and whatever. Okay, so I'm sure you're familiar with the NAACP. I'm just going to introduce him. I've jotted down a few questions that I think I might go on and share with him. That and I've purposely asked him what specifically can we do, because 30 minutes is a short time, and I wanted him to spend the time, if you will, all of his time on the issues that he's concerned with. So why don't we do is James, how you doing? He's been on the show, right? We've been here before with us, and hopefully we'll be able to, during these times and whatever, hopefully we can see if he would indulge us and give us the opportunity to meet with him once a month, and he can just come on and just share with you where. And if you want to participate, you can do that. He'll talk about the whole issue of membership and this and at some other time. But the bottom line, we got a phone number up there. By the way, Steve, you happen to have a phone number? Put the phone number of the organization in there. Appreciate that. The NAACP Portland, so they can see that under his logo. You can start talking, James. Matter of fact,
okay.
So throw that phone number out there for me real quick, right?
Okay,
so Steve,
really, I'd like for people on the show, if they would, they could call my personal phone number. My cell number is 503-936. 0277. My daughter and my wife were gonna kill me for putting that out there, but I'm really a kind of a hands-on, boots on the ground kind of a guy, so I'll try to fill those phone numbers.
Okay.
And
sorry, this is community television, James. Sorry about that, but we got to take care of business. That's an issue that we have here. You would think that we should be given the same will as the rest of the media, so people could actually see the show. We're having a problem. We need to try to get out. Get the word out there.
Well, you're sophisticated after all these years to edit all that stuff out.
That's right. You got it. That's what
I know how sophisticated you are.
Yeah, very much so, Mr. Posey. As you can see, we're friends. We've been around. He's been a first sergeant. I've been a first sergeant.
Yeah. So, just to jump right on into
let's get it.
Is to I don't know if people in Portland understand, this is branch of the NAACP.
Yes.
Is the oldest branch west of the Mississippi, continuously operating. That's something to say. And in 1976, the first youth program for the whole national program was started right here.
Wow, really?
They had it had it right here at the convention center. And really, I ran into some people in the youth program when I went national, and we've got a lot of history here.
A lot of history.
Yeah, and one thing, Bruce, I want to emphasize is that actually this branch was started by a black woman, Beatrice Kennedy Morrow. And listen, she was a black woman. This was back during the days when they were trying to promote this film. The film was called The Face of a Nation.
Yes, that was.
Oh man, that film, not The Face of a Nation. The name.
Something along that line. Yeah, I can still remember that.
That
dark
film
face
was,
and all
the
kinds
dark
of stuff.
face tried to depict black men just raping white women. And it was a horrible film. Anyway, the history is this woman, black woman, who, by the way, was a member of the Baha'i faith. I don't know if people understand that, but right away, faith comes into the picture of how this branch got started. And so I want people to emphasize that. You know, we do a Black History event every February, and we didn't do a good job this year of telling that story.
Right.
If you go over into Vancouver, you go up into St. John's, there's a housing complex with this woman's mural on there.
Really?
Yeah, if you go into St. John's and look over to the left, her picture's all over the framework of that building. They named the whole housing complex up there. So anyway, that history is there, and we want to make sure that this branch get its due in terms of its willingness to do things in this community.
Well, let's do this since you opened it up. You gave up this phone number aspect. Where is it located?
Well, we're in the Lloyd Center right here, now, where people should understand the office, the actual physical location is in the Lloyd Center.
Okay.
We took up some space. If people remember where Sears were on the main floor, we're across from Sears. There was another department store that was right next to us, that Marshall's was right next to us. So when you look around, you'll see us. You can't miss our logo and our, there's.
So is there an address?
It's 50. I'm sorry, it's 1257, the Lloyd Center, right there in the Lloyd Center.
1257 Lloyd Center. Is that the address for the NAACP?
Yeah, it is.
That is the address.
Right.
And what's that zip code?
9721, and we're in the same zip code as we are right now. Portland, Oregon, NAACP.
Okay.
And I would direct people to our website. We one of our accomplishments this year is to build a pretty strong website. We got a lot of stuff on there. And
how do they get to that?
They go to pdxnaacp.org.
Okay.
pdxnaacp.org.
Wow. So it's really neat. I saw it. It was great.
Did you see it?
I saw it.
The website. So
the website
got some,
a lot of information on there.
A lot of
history,
information.
The whole works you can.
Yeah, a lot of
everything.
information. So and we're in the game. We had a pretty successful Freedom Fund dinner last year.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, we sold out. We didn't see you in there, but people like Bernie, high class people like you and Bernie Foster, and they were there. People
That's a
living around
sidebar.
with me. I'm just saying.
All right. Okay.
People in the media was there.
You had some people.
I mean, it was good. I'm gonna tell you something. Can I say something?
Yeah, go on.
It was one of the most exciting events that really showcased Black people I've seen since I've been in this town.
Really?
That's pretty powerful, I think. Anybody was there, they'll tell you how excited we were about having that
Did
event.
you all video it at all?
Oh, yeah, we have video.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay, good. So
we brought the young preacher in from out of Tennessee.
No, but you can go to YouTube now.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
But NAACP, do you have it on your website?
We have segments of it.
Do you?
Some of the interviews and so forth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things that I'm most proud of is now we do have a communications person who's kind of coordinating, raising our profile up.
Oh, okay.
And her name is Spirena.
Okay.
And she's when you go to our website, you can see who is running that particular department.
Okay, that's good. That's good information.
Yeah. So if people want to really see what we're doing, I would advise them to go to our website so they can.
And that was a fundraising piece too, right?
Oh, the Freedom Fund dinner was
Fund.
last year. We had it at the convention center.
Okay, right.
And
right.
I should have came on your program to promote that
Well,
before
you
we did. We did the best we could.
Well, that's right. Like you said, that was last time around. But now you're into a new situation. You're going to be doing that piece. Yeah. And if they want Black to be a member or basically do some support and fundraising aspect of it, you can do it through the website, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to just share with your audience this. We live in an era that we can't have business as usual. I don't know if people understand it, but we cannot have business as usual.
Yep.
And the NAACP has been an instrument for the longest. And people in Portland, in my opinion, just kind of taking it for granted, but it's been one of the most effective instruments in terms of fighting racism, discrimination, and that kind of thing over the years. And one of the reasons for that is that we're not tethered to anybody's purse string.
Okay.
In other words, anybody bought James Posey. Like I don't know about you, but I don't want to get into who you know. You want to go there? I want to go there, but the NAACP.
Stick to the issue. Stick to the issue. You're the president.
I'm just trying to make the point that the NAACP is not tethered to anybody's purse string. That's a powerful thing because many of these
organizations it's been around for a long time. I mean, it is a culture. It's the Black.
It is.
Okay, no problem.
We can say some things that y'all, the good you call them handkerchief heads can't say.
No, I don't.
You know what a handkerchief head is.
I don't know anything about that. I'm talking to the president.
Okay.
The president, get back to the table.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Get back to the table.
The power of the NAACP is the ability to raise issues and have a voice and to tell it like it is, the way it is, and what it needs to be like. That's what I'm trying to get at.
So we're talking about the culture of Black folks.
We're talking about the culture of Black folks.
Okay. Let's get into that first question then.
Yeah,
you made that point. You said, so what is going to take? This is a question you want to know. What is going to take to get Black people to work together? That was something that you wanted to know.
Yeah.
Talk about. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've been, in my opinion, and much of this is personal, my own insights, and the truth of the matter is, we've been programmed to work against each other. In other words, I'm gonna give you a little something over there, give that organization a little something over there, and then just keep you natives from being restless without us really understanding there's a bigger pie out here. And that's
been going on for quite some time.
Been going on quite a while. So they're hiding the ball, as they say in a sports game, and we over here fighting over crumbs, and the big masses of resources are going to everybody and their mother. And they've been very sophisticated. They have a tendency of pitting the Hispanics against the Africans and vice versa, and where the world is their place to play. We're over fighting over crumbs, and everybody else is building capacity, building wealth, seeding their children for the future, and we're over here scrambling and just trying to survive.
Okay.
NAACP can tell that story.
Okay.
But it requires everybody to get to the table and to help out. And and one of the things I'm most proud of this year, Bruce, is that we've finally turned a corner on getting some things organized.
Okay.
We currently have a operations person that looks at the business of the NAACP. Okay. When we were having problems with your membership and the nuts and bolts of keeping an organization going, in terms of getting to our members, our website, our newsletter, how people call into the NAACP, how we communicate our meeting times, our locations, all our committees working the way they ought to be working, and we're able to recruit competent committee chairs. And it's quite an endeavor. Nothing gets done without organization. You from the military, so if we don't have that military structure, and we have you got the generals, but they don't do the work. Is we got all the way down to us master sergeants, boots on the ground, to get the business done.
Get it done.
You know, because everybody can look pretty.
That's right.
And have eggs all on their head and everything.
That's right.
But it's them soldiers taking them bullets.
That's right.
That's getting the job done. Am I right?
You're right, because in all due respect, I got to thank you very much for resolving the little issue that I had with my membership, my lifetime membership. And I called up the president, and the president took that issue, and he went right to the top. And I got my plaque the other day. I got my plaque, and all due respect, I'm glad to do that, because I'd been a member for years. And unfortunately, you know, and I participated. Well, so thank you, man. You did the job.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. And Bruce,
job.
one of the reasons why I took this job at my old age is that we got to have some continuity.
Yeah.
People are looking for continuity and the ability to bridge what you and I have experienced and turn it over, give the baton, pass that baton over to young people is where I'm trying to go with this branch.
Great.
If you look at who we've recruited and what our emphasis is, what our strategic plan is, it's about trying to bring young people into the fold and help them build this future for themselves. Because you know we done kind of did our thing. So now my objective, and I think the objective of many in our branch, is to pull in as many young people as we possibly can. That's a center. That's one bucket of activities that we're involved in. And then the second most important bucket that relates to that question is that why in the heck can't black people work together to solve problems?
They have to be at the table.
They got to be at the table. But no, we have to get our stuff together. We have to have a united front about how we approach the rest of the community about our issues and our concerns. Let me give you an example. Right down the street yesterday, the Coalition of Black Men, working along with this new Reimagine Oregon grant, they've got the Soul District, your boy John Washington, several of us put together a crew to clean up MLK. You'll get rid of the graffiti, move some of the trash that's at the various locations. And historically, you know, you would do the Soul District or the Coalition of Black Men, they would be working separately. But by virtue of going after resources, working together, we were able to put together a team of people that will be out on the streets cleaning up the community. And the ability to get those kind of resources and get some boots on the ground, we begin to kill 3 or 4 birds with one stone. That being, we're able to employ some black people out of our community. We're able to give them some some real employment to get some things that it helps build the image. Typically, you know, people want to claim that black people were shiftless and we don't want to do anything, and we're always seen in the media as having some negative image. This opportunity shows the rest of the community. Now we have some people with some ideas and some willingness to put their shoulder to the wheel to make this a better city. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, in all due respect to that, I've been here for quite some time here at Open Signal. Used to be Portland Community Access, so to speak. But what I'll do is that I'll look into them, make and see if we can get some videographers to follow on some of the things that you're doing.
Well,
from here, because it's community television.
Absolutely,
right? This is community television.
Absolutely. If you check it,
I'll do that.
If you'll check it, Channel 12, Fox was out to get a little hit on that.
But I'm talking about ongoing.
It needs to be ongoing.
This facility should. They should do that for you.
They should. And once upon a time, we were out there, and I think we got to get the ball rolling. The point that I was trying to make here is that the NAACP, by virtue of its brand, can help move those kind of agendas and get some things happening. So that's one thing. The other piece is, which is of great concern for me, is this issue of the achievement gap. You remember back in the day when Hearn and them were jumping on desks and everything. You know, I don't know if people understand this, but Oregon, regardless of the race, is one of the lowest rated education states in the nation. You know, I think we're about 48 out of 52 or something like that, which
And in Portland, we are the last.
Well, yeah, well, you know,
we've always been at the bottom. We
always
within
at
the education system here in Portland.
Too bad. And, you know, I don't want to harp on that. The thing that I'm very excited about is bringing solutions to the table. You know, anybody can talk and everything, but we're in the midst of looking at some Saturday school kinds of things. We're supporting the re-election of Herman Green. At least I am on a personal level. We don't do.
He's running for school board.
He's running for school board.
He's been on one.
Yep, he's been on
term.
once, and we unfortunately we're going to lose Gary Hollins, who was a very strong advocate. He's had some health issues, but with Herman there, we at least have somebody who can kind of speak directly to our issues, specifically around black students. You probably have not heard, but just recently there's an incident in which one of our prominent community members got impacted by some racism at one of the Catholic schools. I won't go into too much details. It's been all in the media, but
who was it?
It was Karis Stoudemire Phillips.
Stoudemire.
Yeah, and I think people.
James. The Stoudemire.
No, he's out of that family. You know, the whole Stoudemire family, Phillips family, very prominent people sending their kids to a private Catholic school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so there was an incident. You got to catch up on it. You'll see the whole thing. And
well, share.
No, it's essentially bottom line is the kid, their kid going to that school got called the N-word, and nigga.
Okay.
That's what he got called.
Let's let him know.
And and so
you guys stood in there.
No. What happened was the parents went over to defend their kid, and the school called the police on Stoudemire and expelled the kid. Allegedly.
So it was a kid, white kid.
No, expelled the black kid because his parents raised hell about the issue with their son. In other words, the school expelled the kid, I guess, to punish the whole parents about their activism on the part of their kid. I mean, it's in the paper. You have to read the full context. So it doesn't make any sense for this boy to get called the N-word and he get punished by being expelled, and his parents get all that negative attention. So it was an ugly situation. And listen to me on this.
Okay.
Those of us at the NAACP are not going to be chasing around trying to inflame the situation. What we want to do is get the facts and really talk to Mrs. Stoudemire and the family to see what they want to have happen. Because
but they're from both the same culture. It was just another black kid that said this to
no. This is a white kid called a black kid. This is perpetuating racism throughout the system.
It's an issue.
It's a major issue. Not only in the Catholic school, it's happening through all the state. And we can't fall asleep on this kind of stuff because there's a pervasive atmosphere for this to be commonplace now. It's accepted to try to kill off anything has to do with black people, and to really, should I say, open the closet door. Take off the facade that you all love each other and all that, because there are a whole bunch of people who still do not like people that have your skin color.
Well, in all due respect, it also goes back to when Lincoln got shot. After he got shot, it started.
Oh yeah.
It was an issue beforehand.
Yeah.
But my point is that he was addressing the issue on the whole issue of the free and the slave. But then after he got shot, and we continued this whole situation. But I'm just throwing.
Yeah, Lord, we're taking a deep breath, and it's manifested.
We're doing something. You're doing something.
Well, let me just put it this way. These kind of issues are. What I want your audience to know is that they may think this is a one-off, but if you sit in the NAACP office, you feel these complaints coming in from people of color about how they're being impacted on their jobs, in their day-to-day, when they do shopping and being followed through the stores and being unfairly targeted by some police activities. Not all police, but some police see that they've gotten permission to be racist in the context of what this national environment is, and how they depict black people in particular. And so the NAACP has always been a advocate to fight against all manner of racism, discrimination, and we have to hold up that, as I call it, hold up that blood-stained banner, because it really is. People have died to protect the progress that we've made in race relations, and now they're trying to take all that away. You understand?
Well, also too, I know that the organization, there is still a representation of white folks in the organization as far as members are concerned, right?
Well, yeah,
they're still open. You're still open.
Listen, let me just be real clear about it. This issue of racism wasn't fostered by black people, so white people do have a responsibility to solve it. So it's only appropriate for them to be members of the NAACP, so they can help correct the many issues, the many ways in which black people have helped destroy, what happens to people of color, especially black people. So let me just be real clear. Some of the white people on our team, which is not a lot, I mean, I'm going to be on the actual operating team, but they're some of the most powerful, most positive people in terms of moving the agenda. So, so we certainly are going to use as many people that we can.
Our country has this issue.
Yeah, we have this whole issue. So the NAACP is one of the few organizations that's not trying to be limited to just African Americans or black people. We welcome the allyship of all white people, and that goes back to what I was saying about the the situation with the Catholic schools.
Yes.
You can't paint all Catholics with this broad brush of racism because one incident or two incidents. You have to look at the full spectrum of what has happened in our community, who is contributing to our well-being, our success. Just for my own personal benefit, I know that St. Andrews, some of the bigger churches have had legal aid workshops. They've actually given free advice and counseling in that. I used to manage a volunteer health clinic that was basically supported and ran by the Catholic Church. So they've done so many good, positive things, but so you don't want this one incident to color what they've done, but at the same time, we got to hold everybody accountable. And when you have specific organizations that run counter to the real culture or the moral fabric of what that church represents, you got to get at it. You got to get it. You have conversations with it, and you need an organization that don't need to bite their tongue.
Good. Let's get another question. We talked about this prior to, by the way. Let's see. What priorities are necessary to grow the black community economically? That's a major issue.
Well, there's an old saying: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And we've been systematically left out of these big tables where decisions are being made. How are we going to spend money? Who is it going to go to? And we haven't been doing a good job of tracking where the money is going to. Let me give you an example. They had a DBE, disadvantaged business program that ran for many years. There was an audit that found out that this DEI, all this so-called resources that were supposed to go to people of color, actually went to white people. Actually went to white people, primarily white women. Don't get me, twisted. I'm not hating on white women, but don't put together a program that makes people think you're going to really be fair to black contractors and employment and so on. And really, the benefit actually flows to white women. And then, of course, if it flows to white women, it flows to white family, the whole white structure that is benefited from the so-called disadvantaged programs that help people of color. That's a lie. They've never really helped us fully. And so what we've got to do is tell the truth about where that money is really going to and who it's benefiting. And here's the piece. Here's the catch of this whole piece. Some white people would say, hey, I don't care how much money you give them black people, they ain't gonna succeed. They're inherently ignorant. They're inherently incapable of being, successful and progressive in this community. So don't waste your money on giving them money, and so that's who they are. That's the epitome of racism in our town, in our community. We at the NAACP have to do our best to expose that sort of racism, tell the story, show who's winning and who's not, who's getting the money and who's not, and really try to rectify that. And of course, that what we've got to do also is recognize that they're not going to give you anything. We as black people got to come and get what is rightfully ours. Mm-hmm. And when an opportunity is provided to us, we can't turn our back on the same people that we got the money for.
Yeah.
We have to circle that money back to our community. We have to buy black. We have to be black. Stay black, Bruce. Stay black. You ain't got no choice, by the way. Stay black. But many people want to take their money, their resources, and run somewhere else with their resources and not try to circle it back, or recycle it back to our community.
Well, I think one of the things we can do, take a page of our history, you and I both. We were very early on in the whole issue of the DBE programs.
Yes.
And got involved in construction. We did business in construction, the whole 9 yards. I think we need to take a good hour, you and I, to talk about that. And just a separate, maybe we can do a Zoom thing on that one, and get the information out. Because you're right in terms of how it was started. Perrin Mitchell's name comes up. We can talk about that. How he came here, we met with him, the whole 9 yards. But Mama, we need to really spend some time on that.
Yeah,
part.
I would love to be able to spend some time because
yes, that's important.
The game,
background.
Yeah, the game. Let me just nip on that a little bit. Your current legislative body, including Senator Wyden, now Merkley, and all of the rest of them, have allowed all these resources to flow through Oregon, with African Americans getting very little of those resources. And you know it as well as I do. Yeah. And they come in, they pat us on the head, throw out a few bones or a few crumbs, and then the rest of the money goes to everybody except black people.
Well, let's put it, they didn't pat you or I on the head. They just didn't let you at the table.
Well, but we need
to talk about it.
Most of us
let's bring it up to date. We can't do it in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll be happy to talk
let's do
about
that,
it.
Because you got good background, and I got, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Maybe bring O.B. Hill involved in it. That type of thing. O.B.'s waiting in there. Okay. The other thing is that who should we be promoting as black leaders? That's an issue too. That a lot of times the majority community uses to divert, if you will, from something that is very serious within our community. Okay. And I'm not saying that they're not good people. But in terms of with priorities, for instance, like we got the NAACP, which is a priority organization that culturally has been focusing on black folks for years. Okay, you got me? And then we've got, in all due respect, we got the Urban League sitting on the other end. And it seems as though the majority community feels a little bit more comfortable going over there. And I'm not trying to knock them per se, but I'm just saying it is an issue. So let's talk a little bit about that whole issue about the black leadership aspect of it. And we're not being anti any of these individuals or that, but the fact of the matter is, it's an issue.
Yeah, again, we're being played. We've been playing as a community. We get played, and
that's true.
And I definitely am not going to be trying to cast any aspersions on none of these organizations, because, as long as I've been alive, we've always been in a crisis position of survival. It has not been an easy road for nobody that's really lived a black life, and so we have to do what we have to do to survive. I'm not going to bridge that. But that was then. This is now. We can change that behavior. We can begin to work together. We can begin to say there's enough resources out there that we don't have to scramble and beg, but we have to come together on one accord. And if we could do that, then I think we'd be a powerful force. Case in point, look what's happening with the budget, the city budget, and what's happening with the reorganization, where those dollars are going to be spent. Who's there fighting on our behalf? Right now, we know we have Loretta Smith at City Council. We've got a couple people at the county who would maybe advocate for us, but those dollars are going to be spent.
Yeah.
And we need as a community to advocate for appropriate distribution of those resources as they get to our community. I said all that to say this: the NAACP could be in a position to at least inform people and to talk about where the various strategic meetings are going to be, the budget meetings.
Yeah.
We can send documentation about what we see as priority, and the big thing is for us not to cut off all the progress we've made on social justice and building economic capacity in the community. And some of it's baked in. I don't know, the national agenda wants to turn a lot of that back, but we've got enough, I think, impetus and enough power individuals right now who's not going to let this thing get turned around or turned completely back.
Is that a special committee of some sort? Are you chairing it?
Yeah,
you kind of chair something like that? Or?
Yeah, I just want to make it known we've got a whole range of committees at the NAACP, but one of the key, excuse me, one of the key committees is the Economic Development Committee.
Right. Okay.
Dr. Bishop Hope now is the chair of that committee. And believe it or not, Bruce, we've got about 10 organizations that have come together around what we call the Unity Coalition Messaging Campaign, in which they're on board to talk about how do we as a Black community work together to build economic capacity within our community and to make people aware of what the opportunities are out here. So this, again, getting to the table. You've got our Bound Vision over there. You got the 1803. Those people over there working project by project to build community. The I-5 corridor project that you need to have somebody on to talk about, because a whole group of people who are trying to kibosh that I-5 project for the sake, they say, around the ecology and environmental issues. This is one of the few projects that ever had the chance of empowering Black people. It's just like the Banfield way back when OB and them were trying to get some work on that Banfield going out to Gresham and so forth. Here comes another opportunity that's funded by the feds and that could have an impact on our community. That's the enemies of that, including people in my own neighborhood association. It's right adjacent to the Elliott Neighborhood Association. They've gone to Metro, gone to the city to throw shade on that particular project. And for the first time in my existence as a member of this community, we do have an opportunity to get some of those resources that are going to prosper everybody except for us unless we're at the table. If they kibosh it or they put a hold on it, all it's going to do really is delay ultimately the opportunity for us to get a piece of that action.
There's another question that has come from the community that I heard was that who's going to be the occupants of that facility?
Well,
they're pointed from the stand of saying, can they afford the rent? The words out, gee, you can't afford the rent. How do we deal with it? That needs to be put on the table. Who needs to be in that facility?
So those questions come up there. What happens, and you've been around this thing for a long time. They create these so-called community advisory committee. I'm on one of them, and I don't bite my tongue about it. But let me just be honest with you, because these advisory committees are not structured where they have any power. Let me repeat that. They're structured in a way that they kind of become patsies. I hate to use that word, for the organizational development with no power and influence. So all we can do is go in there and raise the issue. The policymakers and the people who are in a position to make decisions on this kind of stuff really just kind of ignore in many ways those the people that sit on these commissions and advisory bodies. We have to be at the table to talk to the mayor, talk to the governor, talk to senators who, I'm talking about Wyden and Merkley, everybody that's bringing that money to the table. Who's signing the check? Because at the end of the day, all of us with our hair on fire, raising complaints, they'll just go in one ear and out the other ear. And listen, you and I are military, right? if the money goes sideways and it doesn't go to the right place, your head will roll. In the military, you have a responsibility.
Yep, right.
If it doesn't go down, you're gonna be demoted. You're gonna get an Article 15. You don't show up.
That's
You're gonna. There's no consequence
right.
for in many ways for these dollars when they don't get into the right hand. No one gets fired. No one goes to jail. You know, so people just chalk it up as a way of doing business and say, "Oh well." You heard that song? Oh well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're left holding the bag.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give the NAACP another piece, if you will. We need to do another hour show on that piece. You happen to be a part of one of the committees aspect of it.
Yeah.
You can maybe invite whomever you want with you, and let's have that discussion.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We can and really get down why it was constructed, where did the money go, and etc. And at the bottom line, who's going to be the occupants of that facility?
Yeah, well, those things
But
are.
I'm just saying, one point.
I
I want to talk about that, but if you could take on that piece, that would be great.
Yeah, I would love to be able
show.
to do that. I just want you to be clear. These things inherently are designed to leave us out because they know we've been neglected previously, and in order to rectify these things, somebody's going to have to make a sacrifice in terms of money. In terms of reworking how these things are distributed.
Yeah.
Typically, people who already got property are in line to get more property.
Yeah.
You know how that works.
Oh, yeah.
People who couldn't afford to live in the area we're getting ready to construct are going to the ones going to be living
That's why
in the
we
area.
need to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to do more than talk about it.
No,
we need to organize.
Because it still is public money.
Yeah, it is public
It's public money aspect of it that's being thrown in the pot aspect of it. And the public at large need to know what was the intention of it to begin with.
Yeah.
And if the issue was culture to start with, to get the money, then now at the end of the day, it's not.
So here's
all I'm saying.
some
We just need
things
to talk
that,
about it. That's all.
well, let's have some conversation
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
all.
But
We
I
need
want
an
you
hour
to
on the
understand
show.
that there's some people who think because you were not in a position to be included in the first place means you are not eligible to be in a position to get this piece because you're inherently incapable of being a part of our society. And so we're working up, Bruce, let me just be real clear about it. We're working with some evil stuff out here against black people. And so we can't sugarcoat it anymore, brother.
Like I said, man, it's gone back since
you can't
Lincoln. Like I said,
sugarcoat
he got
it.
shot. We got to bring him up. We got to revive it.
So there was a thing when I'm working with this guy named Mike Green, some other things here. We're going back and look at what King did with the Negro Revolution. You remember when they did those marches and boycotts in Tennessee? They didn't pay attention. They didn't pay attention to black people until black people stopped shopping in those shops down there and stopped riding those buses. It became an economic piece. So if I had the wherewithal and we had enough capacity, I would tell people in this town, hey, if you want to support the NAACP, only shop at places that really value our involvement, our participation. We did a little bit of that with the NAACP. We focused our shopping habits on Costco, not Target, not Walmart. Some of these organizations that want to get rid of equity programs, black people, whether we want to admit it or not, contribute greatly to some of those organizations. We had a local and a national campaign to focus our money on those who support us. So I go to Costco 5 times more than I normally would go. Normally I would run over to some of these other places and do some things, but now I'm not going. You won't ever see me in a Target store until they come back around talking about they're going to respect black people. Okay. This is the kind of stuff the NAACP could focus on. You won't see me in no Target store, and unless Lord is willing and the sun don't rise, I'm not going to be in no Walmart again. I'm just going to tell black people out here, say your audience, and the white people, stay away from those stores, because those stores have really tried to stay away from you. You do not want to shop at places where they don't want you.
Now, they have the option to keep them on anyway, right? On the DEI program.
They had all kind of options.
No, I'm just saying, but my point is that if they want to keep them on the job, let's say at Costco, they can do that.
Keep who on the job?
Keep black folks.
Or
any other.
Yeah, they have the option. They have the option, but they've come out with policies saying they're not going to pay any attention to try to make it more inclusive, and they're going to
Okay.
get away with
Okay.
any effort.
They need to
it's
hear
just
that.
like
They need to hear that.
it's just like us in the military. You know, there's a long time they didn't want none of y'all in the military. Y'all's blood, you know, when y'all got shot, y'all didn't bleed. You know, but we had to fight to get.
Oh, yeah.
You had to fight to
Oh, yeah.
even get some
Oh, yeah.
reputation in the
Oh, yeah.
military. You know,
Oh, yeah.
because
Very much so.
they never thought you could be a master sergeant. You know, but
yeah.
we had to fight that. Those days are back on us, man. We can't take it for granted now. Everything we do has to be focused on making sure we don't go backwards.
Okay, but like I said, we that's what I'm saying. It's good you're in the seat, and the kind of training we both had, if you will, is a benefit, if you will, to the efforts that are being made today. And again, we're still talking to the public, that public dollar.
Yeah.
Who signs the checks? And then I'm thinking about it, my mindset jumps right off the bat. We got a congressional delegation, we got a senatorial delegation. Those are the main ones that drives again. When you look at, excuse the French, if you Google their name and look at their net worth, that's an interesting piece. Have you done that before?
Oh yeah, we've done that. So those kind of stories.
We'll talk about
Yeah,
it.
well, those kind of stories. And this is what I want to
Videotape.
say to your audience here. We need the best of people's intellect to come to the table to help us tell these stories.
That's why you're there.
Yeah, well, it's not. Well, I'm there. That's what I'm going to make the point. James Posey, just one little vessel here.
Well, that's right.
And we
No.
need everybody.
No,
I'm looking at
no,
your
I'm not-
staff.
Wait a
minute, I'm looking at
you're
your-
not just one little. No, you're sitting in the president of the NAACP.
Absolutely.
You represent people. You represent this culture.
Absolutely.
And they clearly make it a point that it's about black people, and then but at the same time it's diverse. People, I mean, there are many contributors across the board within this country that supports the NAACP. It's
Well,
not just cultural.
no, absolutely. But I want to be real
they
clear about it.
respected the fact that it's about black folks.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some issues on the table that blacks have to be, i.e., at that leadership point, so they can understand that piece to get to the masses.
Yeah. So the point is that I'm trying to share is if black people are doing okay, everybody
Yeah.
be doing okay.
Yeah, but they're
It's a
not.
barometer. That's what I'm trying to say, though. But a lot of people want to lambast us and call us all kind of bigoted people because we're focusing primarily on black people. And I'm telling people this is where the problem is. If you begin to clear those issues up with black people, just about everybody else is going to benefit. White women, the gays, everybody's going to benefit if black people
We've
treated
been the point person on the whole issue of race for a long time.
on race, on
And
equity,
the bottom line is
human
that
race.
the point I'm making when we first started the show that you
Okay.
made the point. You say black people got to get their act together.
They do. They
And
do.
we talked about the black leadership thing, but like I said before, it's not about being anti-personal. Personal in terms that divide thing has always been there, and I'd like to just lay that out there. You made that point.
Well, I want to make it again because
Yes.
none of this happens without good organization.
That's right.
None of this happens unless we got a good communication system
Right.
that we can really. That's why I'm on your show.
Right.
Is
Right.
I'm going to tell people we have to
Right.
communicate.
Right.
We have, KGW and all of them was
Yes,
out
indeed.
here, but we got to have social media. Your Facebook post, your YouTube channel has to be able to talk about this particular show you're going to put on YouTube.
Yes.
And maybe somebody will
now.
get an idea of coming over and helping
Yes.
us at the NAACP. We're at pdxnaacp.org. You can go to our website. You can find ways to volunteer. And here's the thing that I want to share with your audience is that we have to do more than talk about involving our youth. We need the financial support of people who want to plug into our youth program. We need a big donation. We need a couple of sugar daddies like you, Bruce. Why don't you let some of that money you got and some of that thing be a big sugar daddy for the NAACP?
I'm giving you half my life to this town talking about culture, and I tell you, You know what kind of benefits I've gotten?
Yeah. Huh? Well, you got the same I got. Well, you got the same amount I got.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking to you.
Right.
My point is that we've got certain skills. Okay, we've got certain skills that we've worked hard to get. Okay, and we've had businesses that we worked hard to get. Okay, and I don't have too many people knocking on my door sharing whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's be serious about this piece.
Oh, I know you are.
Because this is something, and that's why we want you on the show, because of your background. You've got some skills. And it's very important. So we want to communicate to the masses at large that we're at the table, that we want to resolve some of these issues. And the NAACP is a good point, if you will.
Yeah,
to work from.
I really want to encourage young people out here who are looking for a vehicle to get involved, to show up on our general meetings. Show up, plug yourself in. You'll never hear me try to exclude anybody from having their involvement. We got the Good in the Hood coming up. We got Juneteenth. We got a lot of summer activities. Show up. Help us get people registered to vote in the next election. We don't want to sit around now waiting for the midterms to show up. Help us get people on board to be in a position to vote. Let's make sure that we don't leave out our brothers and sisters been unfairly incarcerated. Let's not have a situation where we isolate ourselves from those people who've had to move out of the hood to the numbers. Let's try to bring that together. And let's make sure that all these youth programs, let me just repeat this, let's make sure that every youth program that touches black kids get fully funded for the summer and on into the year. Those are things that we can advocate. Those are the things that if you come to our office and you want to be a part of our political action, we can show up at City Council, we can show at the Multnomah County office when they are setting those budgets. We can show up and advocate. It's going to take all of us to really stay on boards and not being thrown overboard with the national temperament right now.
Well, you make a point, but it's public money. Again, I keep throwing that on the table because the majority, in all due respect, the majority of that money is going to be coming from that majority public for that support, and we need that support.
Yeah,
got me. But being inclusive about that piece. And not personal. We're not talking about being the like I say, we're talking about the black leaders now. Hey, this is not a personal situation. Hey, it's who we are and how we've been treated. That's what you bring. You bring that solution to the table.
Yeah, and
very important.
I want
them to get involved, right?
Yeah, I want them to get involved, but I want people to understand my mindset. First of all, there's a mindset that I bring to the table is that we won't be dependent until in perpetuity around asking people for money. We need to build bigger businesses, black business,
Yes, right.
We need to build an infrastructure. We need to have ownership. Membership, ownership in this community. And since we've been, in my opinion, robbed from some of those opportunities, we need to have a corresponding response to how unfairly we've been treated. And now some people might take issue with that. But at the end of the day, if you have an opportunity to build and grow, and it's been stunted or been neglected, then now's the time for us to look at that. And when we have opportunities, let me give you an example. Can I give you an example?
Sure, go on.
The mayor, not Wheeler, but Wilson.
Keith Wilson, yeah.
Keith Wilson, the new mayor, and the governor, Tina Kotek, just suspended some administrative costs for building new homes in the Portland area. In other words, they have a goal of 5,000 homes they need to build.
For who?
For this community, for the Portland community.
For the purpose of for people.
Purpose of you're probably not aware of that. You just
I'm very aware. I'm just
saying.
I got a point to make.
My point to you is, not only do we need to bring people of color, so we can afford to live here in Portland again. Those homes should be affordable. We ought to understand what the prioritization of who are those houses affordable for, number one. Number two, if 5,000 new properties and homes are going to be built, we want to know who's going to build it. In other words, the workforce that's been essentially gutted out for African Americans, many of these craft unions have been excluding people of color. There ought to be a community benefits agreement that prioritizes people who have been left out historically. What did I say? It ought that policy of building those 5,000 homes should have a provision in it to include people that look like me and you on the front lines for building those 5,000 homes. You understand? And if we're not at the table advocating for that, guess who's going to build those homes, and guess who's going to benefit from this 5,000 home idea that the mayor and the governor are ready to execute. Do you see anybody, wait, hold up. Do you see anybody out there advocating for that idea of making sure that we are at the table? We're on the front end of who's going to benefit, who's going to be trained to do those work, what apprentices is going to be on the job, and what it's going to look like in real dollars and cents?
Well, as you say, I'll tell you point blank. Let's make sure we talk about getting our act together first, right? Got me? Now, in the quote community, the entity that's identified as doing that job is Colas Construction. Got a black face, and he's built several units over here. About 6 or 7. They're building another one right here on the corner of Vancouver and was it?
Yeah.
See my point? And then you look at the workers. And I'm just being straight up with you. Have you approached him?
Of course.
Is he a member of the NAACP?
Yeah, he's a member there. Listen, I want to say to you.
But let's make sure we understand.
Wait a minute. Let's back up on the conversation about Colas Construction.
Well,
very important. Very important.
Yeah.
Those guys are not miracle workers. You can't lay the responsibility for everything that occurs for the last 20, 30 years on this one company. We cannot do that. I think, in truth, Colas and Raymore, the 3 major companies that are trying to develop in this community.
He's a black contractor.
Yes.
Okay.
Get an unfair burden for the criminal acts of excluding our people for the years. And so all of a sudden, because they have a black moniker, they're expected to do over and above what the white guys have done. And let me just be clear about it. Nothing gets built unless you got qualified, capable employees, red, yellow, black, or white. And since we have systematically excluded black people from this industry, the market, the ability to hire people at certain levels is not there. I don't care. Jesus couldn't come and put them on these jobs because they're non-existent. When you have an educational achievement gap for the last 100 years in which your math scores have been in the toilet for black kids. Their reading capability has been in the toilet. They're not coming out of the back end of these educational process with any technical skills to be useful, or should I say, be profitable for many of these companies. So you hire people who are going to help you make money. You've been in the business. You ain't going to hire people who can't read, who can't follow instructions. And I'm saying to you, and regardless of what Colas looks like, they still got to build a competent structure based upon the specs and what the industry standards are, and regardless of what the color is. So I'm saying to you, yeah, we're gonna hold them accountable because they are black. They benefit from some of these preference-related programs. But at the end of the day, we have to hold these white companies who have abandoned black people, who school system who has systematically denied black kids the opportunity to be successful and to have a good education, disproportionately left out. So we got to. I don't want to put all the burden on just a Colas or Raymore.
We're getting into the conversation.
Yeah, let's have a conversation about that.
We need to talk about that piece. But anyway, we got about 20 seconds now. Why don't we announce again about get your phone number out there.
Okay, my phone number is 503-936-0277, and we're at the Lloyd Center.
Okay, real quick.
1257 Lloyd Center, right there by where
Sounds good.
Sears and Roebuck used to
Join
be.
the NAACP.
Yeah,
have a
please.
good one. We'll see you next week. Take care. Good job. See. We got quite a bit. I'm glad we got that last piece in there. See, you was kind of getting off base. We had no black folks, no black folks were contractors.
Yeah,
now that put a little heat on them.